Health begins in your daily actions, in your daily routine. Health begins in your kitchen, health begins in your mind. You are so busy in your day-to-day lives that sometimes you forget to connect with the small joys of life. And I decided that I will ensure that the small joys of life, I always take a moment and acknowledge those and enjoy those. My entire journey has led me to a point where I want to help people, support people in doing this transition in their lives. Hi, I'm Anchal. I live in Gurgaon. I'm an MBA Finance by qualification and I worked in the corporate sector for 8-9 years. It all started with a severe shoulder ache and back ache. In my corporate role, I used to do a lot of work on the laptop and life was very stressful at that point of time. But now I was on a break, I quit my work. So I visited my orthopedician and he made me run a few tests and eventually they could figure out that I had severe spasms in my cervical. That pain became dormant, but it kind of always stayed there. One fine day, I noticed that there is blood in my stools, and initially I thought maybe it is some infection, but obviously I started watching my motions. Frequency of motion started increasing. I started losing control over my motions. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called ulcerative colitis. So I had to be, right next to my toilet all the time, because if I'm not around and if I have to go for motion, I would just pass motion wherever I am. So I stopped going out anywhere. Physically, of course, I was feeling extremely weak because, that fear is always there that, I have to go for the motions again. I remember beyond a point, I kind of just surrendered. I was like, I don't know what to do. Someone has to take care of me now. I didn't know what is going to work, what is not going to work, because still now nothing is working. So I was doing allopathy, I was doing homeopathy, but I think it was the desi ilaj of the kathali leaves powder which kind of worked. The moment I started having that powder, I probably saw an instant effect. Physically, emotionally, it was quite traumatic and quite upsetting, quite distressing, especially when you know that when you're told that there is nothing you can do about it. After a few months, my menstruation cycle went for a toss. It happened once, it happened twice, it happened thrice, and then I thought something must be seriously wrong. Why is it happening again and again? Your eggs are finishing, that's the exact statement she used, and I don't know what that meant. My eggs are finishing. I had never heard anything of that sort before. And she said, you hit early menopause. I was just 32. If at 32 someone tells you hit early menopause, and by that time you don't even have one child, and it was only then actually we had started thinking about planning a family. It was shattering. It was totally shattering. I was, of course, taking the medicines that my doctors wanted me to take, but I was continuously looking for answers and, trying to figure out, is there a solution? Is there another way out?
And then I attended a workshop conducted by the Health Awareness Center of Mumbai.
What I learned was that our body has an innate intelligence mechanism. There is so much that our body is doing for us to keep us in good balance. And an illness, whenever we have an illness, a disease, it is just body's way of communicating with us. And it is body's way of telling us that please help me in restoring that balance. The body will keep telling you, because the body is always on your side. It is always working for your good health. So if it gives you an illness and you don't address it correctly, you don't let that toxic buildup come out, initially you will have smaller problems. So your loose motions, fever, aches and pains, your cold and cough, these are all body's mechanism of removing the toxic waste. But if you don't let that happen, it will get accumulated and it will come out as a bigger problem. So there's a difference between a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. So conscious mind is when I think, oh, I'm ready to be pregnant, I'm ready to conceive, I want to have a baby. But that's not enough. My subconscious mind has to genuinely believe that I can have a child and I can, raise them, I can support the new life. Whatever you are doing in your life, whatever changes you do to bring a new life into your family, you have to ensure that those changes are consistent. I started looking at the whole picture. Okay, so it was no more about one problem or the second problem or the third problem. It was about looking at the body as a whole. I mean, these were just different messages, right? Different illnesses were only different messages which the body was giving to me, but for the same issue. Natural foods are foods as they exist in nature. So they are whole foods. The moment you start refining them, processing them, packaging them, you put artificial elements in them, you put preservatives in them, they lose their natural form. So natural foods would include fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, and when you eat grains, you have to ensure that you're eating whole grains. So as much unrefined and unprocessed as possible. One very important thing is sleep. Okay? Nature has designed us to follow a certain rhythm in life where there are periods when we are active and there are periods when we are not supposed to be active. And that period is called the period of sleep. So sleep is very, very closely related to good health because a lot of repair work, growth work happens when you are asleep. But body is able to function best when it is in a relaxed mode and not in a panic mode or a firefighting mode. Therefore, what we actually need to do in our routine lives is that every now and then we actually have to step back and say that let me have a few minutes of silence or a few minutes of peace where you're not doing anything. It's like a reset that you do. If we were not living the modern life that we are right now, if we were, let's say, living as part of nature in jungles, we would have been physically very active. Right? And that's very important because physical activity helps the blood flow better in the entire system. That is something which we are lacking these days because of our sedentary lifestyles and our lifestyles of staying indoors, and therefore we have to now make an effort to exercise. Within foods, I think the key change that I did was that I introduced a lot of positivity and happiness in my life. It did stem out from the fact that I had now learned how I can take charge of my health. I felt totally empowered, and that automatically made me very happy. For example, I started journaling. At the end of every day, I would sit down and jot down one happy moment from the day, and that kind of reinforced the positivity. And within no time of making these changes, one fine day I realized that I had conceived naturally without taking any medicines from the gynecologist or any kind of artificial support, only through the blessings of nature. I felt that I had won my freedom from medicines, my freedom from depending on any external party for my health. I felt empowered that I know how I have to take care of myself. Nature always keeps us well, gives us good health. And in today's time when illnesses are on the rise, all we have to do is go back to nature. It is in fact quite simple. It might sound oversimplified, but believe me, it is actually that simple.